We're here today to talk about one aspect of the policy churn around the country that's coming together that can really make a profound difference. Because having an opportunity to get our agricultural policies right for people who eat, pay taxes, farm, the hunters and fisher people, this as an opportunity for us to make a profound difference and to be able to unite the people who are part of the Tea Party movement who are cranky and the people who are part of the Occupy Wall Street movement who are cranky. You know, they're both right in some sense that Americans are not getting full value, and I think nothing illustrates that more than our agricultural policy. There's no mistake that America has abundant food. It's low cost, but it comes at a tremendous price. Hundreds of billions of dollars that are invested, special quota provisions, rules and regulations, which primarily benefit the largest agribusiness producers. In my state, most farmers and ranchers get zip. And in fact, the policies that we outline here actually work against most farmers and ranchers. Because to really farm the taxpayer, it requires an economy of scale. It's the direct payments for the commodities. And they are in turn squeezing out small and medium-sized farmers. It's hard to enter into the farming industry at precisely the time when more young people are interested in it and we need them. The average farmer is 55 years of age. Who's going to be guiding the ship on America's farms and ranches in the future?
We do not want a secret farm bill written by ag bosses and the subsidy lobby to be submitted to the super committee, accepted in its entirety, and passed without any democratic consideration in the House or the Senate, or maybe even consideration in the agriculture committees, and even there the subsidy lobby is dominant. We want an open process. We want a public process. We want a democratic process.
We've talked a lot about the inefficiency of ag policy. We've talked a lot about the costliness of ag policy. As the Congressman mentioned, we put together a series of papers earlier this year that we call the American Boondoggle Project. Our papers can be found on the website of the same name, American Boondoggle, on the AEI website. But what I'd like to talk about today is the fairness of it. It's not just that these programs are ineffective and that they cost too much, they're just plain unfair. And the Congressman's report outlines a few of those areas in specifics. Direct payments. Direct payments are $5 billion of your money that goes every year to farmers, not because of what they're doing today, but because they're currently farming on land that was eligible for subsidies about 20 years ago. Basically, it's a government taxpayer bonus for showing up and doing your job. Now, I like farmers as good as everyone else. I mean, farmers do things that are effective and essential, but do they need a taxpayer bonus for nothing but doing their jobs? I mean, imagine if bankers on Wall Street got taxpayer bonuses for organizing our financial system, or lawyers got taxpayer bonuses for litigating cases. Is that something that is fair? That's what our current policy does, and it ought to be abolished today, yesterday, tomorrow. It ought to be abolished. It's simply unfair. Congressman talks about crop insurance, and I certainly think that crop insurance policies have their place. But what we need to understand is that the current system of crop insurance is something that would look like a Rube Goldberg contraption outside of the world of ag policy. Farmers need insurance policies to protect against crop losses, but what we've done is we've used taxpayer dollars to subsidize 60% of the premiums that they pay. And then we subsidize the insurance companies that sell them those policies for all of their overhead costs, guarantee them against losses, and split the gains from them. So we subsidize the people who sell the policy, we subsidize the people who buy the policy. Now, I have a homeowners policy the same as you all do. If I had equity in my home, which I did before the crash, had it burned down, I would have had great financial loss from that disaster, just like a farmer. Does it make sense for the government to subsidize 60% of my homeowner's insurance and then turn around and pay for the overhead and the cost and the loss protection for the State Farm insurance or the Allstate insurance that would sell it to me? Doesn't make sense. So why are farmers getting something that everyone else doesn't when they have access, most of them being very wealthy, to sophisticated financial instruments that would buy them the same protection on things like the Chicago Board of Exchange, but not using the taxpayer dollar? It's unfair, it needs to be reformed, and it needs to be reformed today, tomorrow, and yesterday. Last point, the Congressman's report touches on the ACRE program, which is the most obscure of the subsidies. It started in 2008. What it essentially is a way to lock in record prices that old subsidies used to protect farmers against falling prices, so that if prices got too low, farmers would be at risk of bankruptcy. At the last 10 years, we've had record high farm prices, farmers have record high revenues, and under the ACRE program, you can enroll your crops in this program, and if prices fall off the record level, you get the taxpayer to make up some of the difference. As part of the supposed deal going forward for the super committee, agriculture interests are asking, if we're going to give up our direct payments, we want a better ACRE program. Farm prices are at record highs right now. If they drop 20% and every farmer's in the record program, in the new ACRE program, they will spend more taxpayer dollar on that than we spend under the programs that they're giving up. If homeowners had a similar policy during the real estate boom, we would have seen billions and trillions of dollars of taxpayer dollars going out to subsidize the record high equities of people who owned their homes. That would have been wrong. This is wrong. It needs to be changed and reformed today, tomorrow, and yesterday. And thanks to the leadership of Congressman Blumenauer, I'm much more hopeful today and tomorrow of that happening than I was yesterday. Thanks.
Thank you.
The super committee was created to tackle the deficit, not trim a little around the edges of the farm bill and enact farm policy that'll saddle taxpayers with subsidies for the next decade. And it appears that the Agriculture Committee is trying to do an end run around their colleagues and around the American people and try to use this extraordinary process to force this through without any debate, without any amendment on the House floor. And that is completely irresponsible and actually shows, to my opinion, some level of contempt for their colleagues that they won't even allow them the opportunity to debate the bill. So the super committee should reject this approach and at the same time enact significant cuts to direct payments and crop insurance. And then separately, we look forward to working with the Agriculture Committee in 2012 on enacting a responsible farm bill for the American taxpayer.
In 2010, 73 million acres of American farmland, ranchland, and forest was enrolled in current conservation programs. That represents an enormous success for our land protection efforts, to restore wetlands, to restore estuaries, and to save wildlife. And that success has been going on entirely voluntarily, quietly, in partnership with landowners and USDA. But we can do a lot better. And Congressman Blumenauer and this proposal are talking about a smart new way to do conservation, which is focused on outcomes rather than projects. So right now, how do conservation programs work? Right now, it works by paying the same amount for any project, regardless of the outcome. So for example, if someone's going to restore a wetland that could help an endangered turtle, or they're going to restore a wetland that could enhance the water quality in the Chesapeake Bay, or they're simply going to restore a wetland that would help some common plants, they get the same amount of money if it costs the same thing for USDA and bulldozers and laborers to put the wetland in place. And that's not getting good value for our dollars. What if instead we paid for that benefit? If programs recognize that a wetland housing an endangered species provides a greater public value than one housing common bullfrogs. If we did something like that, we'd ensure much, much better value for our tax dollars. And that's the opportunity before us in this proposal and with this next farm bill.
I want to conclude by just referencing one item, and that speaks to the nutrition elements. In times past, it seems even though the nutrition elements of the farm bill, which are almost 3/4 of the total outlay, have been kind of an afterthought, that somehow the primary goal is to continue having lavish payments to large agribusiness, and that somehow the 74% that speaks to the nutrition of Americans' families, people who are challenged in terms of food security, students, because of the reliance on cheap commodities, we're supersizing our students. We have challenges in terms of taking advantage of the programs to get nutritious food to families, young families particularly, that are low income, and to seniors. We can, in fact, if we concentrate on the production of food, doing it more efficiently and more directly, we will be able to deal with other costs. I mean, how do we calculate the costs of obesity in this country now? Type 2 diabetes, morbidly obese sixth graders. Having an opportunity to make it easier for farmers and ranchers to produce food and to streamline these programs that get it to them will make a huge difference on the one constituency that is just as big as taxpayers. That's people who eat. And it's time for all of us who eat to be served more effectively by the farm program.